Ladies and gentlemen, this lighting is terrible. Let me try and get better lighting. Welcome in. I saw someone set up here. I'm interested in this. Hey, Ginger, I was just reading about the proposed state of Jefferson, the northern part of California that voted for Trump in a landslide. I hope it gets split from the rest of California, considering it's so different, and becomes its own state. Well, we're talking about gerrymandering states then. I mean, that's what it is. So I don't think that's going to happen. But if Idaho gets that land in Oregon, then who knows? But I don't think that's going to happen, man. Lichtman, yeah, you guys want me to react? You watch that? I mean, my take on that whole thing was that the thing is, Lichtman goes on. I'm talking about the Jank and Lichtman thing. Lichtman will go on these shows with the talk show host, and they really don't know what's going on. And Lichtman can kind of give his excuses and say, "Oh, boo-hoo! It was just disinformation. That's why my prediction was wrong. It was all the voters, and it was Elon Musk." And then, Jank is someone who just really doesn't give a fuck. And it seemed like Lichtman just clutched his pearls. Like, oh my, how dare you call me any names? It's because Lichtman is so used to being coddled like a baby. I mean, he's like a 5-year-old Lichtman. He really is. And Jank's like, you're just a dumbass, dude. I mean, I've never seen anyone like that's supposedly a grown adult act like a 3-year-old can't admit they're wrong. And then they're like, no, it's all disinformation. That's why I was wrong. As a Stanford fan, I'm hating the ACC. Please say something to make me more optimistic about our life in our new conference. Thanks in advance. Well, dude, because you go from the Pac-12 to the ACC. I mean, the ACC is not that good. Stanford, if they were to become good at football again, could certainly compete. But the ACC, it was similar to the Pac-12, so it's hard, man, with the travel. The ACC is a hard one for like Stanford or Cal. I mean, the conference is open, though. For football. Even basketball, the ACC hasn't been as good. What's good, man? What was the biggest night stream wise around the election time? Thanks for you're asking the biggest stream I had. That would have been the biggest stream, obviously, was the election stream for me. The second, I mean, the lead up to it, a few of them did very well too. Should we be worried about Russia since Biden approved the missiles to Ukraine? I've done a few videos on that. I mean, look, you don't like escalation, but I think nobody really knows what's going to happen if Russia's going to do anything or not. I mean, I would be shocked if this actually led to World War III, considering Trump's stance. I mean, he's been voted in. Kamala Harris calls Dave Ramsey's show asking for advice after blowing $1 billion in 3 months. Yeah, I've seen a few calls from that show. It's kind of an entertaining show to watch. Well, you know what they have that show. What they'll do with that show is they'll put it on shorts, and then like half of the screen will be the call, and then the other half will be like friggin' some like Minecraft video to try and keep people's attention. That's how crazy it is with the shorts now. They got to keep people's attention, so it's a short form video, but then half of the video is just like somebody playing GTA or something. Hey DG, what's going on, man? If I got $1 every time the left uses either mis or disinformation, I could retire by tomorrow morning. Well, yeah, you know the interesting thing about those words, they really weaponize those words. And I remember saying this back in 2021 when I got no views or anything, but I would say that, they've brought these words. Nobody was saying misinformation, disinformation in 2016, 2017. But what they did is they weaponized those words, and then they say, and this is exactly what happened in 2020, anything that they don't like is misinformation. It doesn't actually have to be misinformation. But whatever they don't like is misinformation. It's just like the Hunter Biden laptop story. They didn't like that story, so they labeled it misinformation. Just slap a label onto it. It doesn't have to actually be misinformation, but if we call it misinformation, people will believe it. And so, I mean, that's exactly what happened in 2020. And I guess they still use them. And Well, now Lichtman's like brought it back. They really stopped using it, but Lichtman started blaming everything on disinformation and why they lost. I mean, Trump's got a way bigger gripe with misinformation than Lichtman does because all of social media was misinformed when they removed the Hunter Biden story. They were all misinformed. That's true misinformation that affected an election. Trump's got a way bigger gripe than anything that I don't even know what they're trying to say about misinformation changing the election in 2024. They just have no way to. I mean, that's just pure cope. There's always going to be misinformation, but if anyone had any, I mean, how is that an argument when we saw what happened in 2020? It just goes to show you the lack of political awareness these people have. It's truly astounding. You're going to argue that misinformation caused Trump to win 2024 when we have the biggest example ever of it causing him to lose in 2020. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What do you think about the Buckeyes-Hoosiers game on Saturday at the Shoe? Yeah, I think that should be a Buckeyes win, honestly, man. If Ohio State lost that game, it's real bad. I mean, they're way more talented than Indiana. But to be honest, that could be a really miserable game for Ohio State. Like, I'm expecting it to be close. And obviously, there's a lot of people that think Ohio State's easily going to win. By the way, the thing is, I start these live streams and I just start rambling about stuff. This is what I wanted to talk about. Donald Trump favorability. Trump's polls have been amazing. Well, this is just 18 to 29, but there's other polls as well. Here's another one. Well, this is, even YouGov has Trump +1. I mean, +1 is so good for Trump compared to where he was previously. Rubio at +19 is hilarious. Like, Rubio being the most favorable one, it just goes to show you how much the internet is different from the actual voters, because a lot of people on the internet do not like the Rubio pick. And I agree with them to a degree. But he ends up +19. It's just because a lot of like establishment Republicans like Rubio and they think he's credentialed and stuff. Thoughts on Doge and Vivek? I mean, we'll see what Doge can do. It's certainly needed. There's going to be a level of transparency. Musk has a way of doing things. It's just simply superior to anything Democrats could do in the form of transparency. A lot of it has to do with him owning X and tweeting out everything. It's a level of transparency that we would never see from any liberal when it comes to handling of funds with the government. And so I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be a lot different than what we're used to with either Republicans or Democrats. When you've got someone like Musk, who's always on X, who's always talking to voters, that means something. And that means something to the voters, and it's that transparency that we've really lacked within the government when it comes to the spending and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good moments and a lot of good propaganda that Vivek and Musk are going to have when it comes to slashing things that are simply useless that we were spending money on. You better thank a union member. What do you think will be a new swing state in 2028? Well, I mean, I think kind of the trendy answer would be New Jersey. I mean, New Jersey, Virginia. I think Vance would appeal a little bit more to people in Virginia than Trump does, just because it seems like there's more center-left people in Virginia, and it seems like those people it's kind of hard for Trump to get those people. He's got a more boisterous personality than Vance, and Vance is a little bit softer. So I could see Vance doing better, but it'd be like Virginia and New Jersey. In terms of electoral votes, those would be the states you would go for. I mean, also New Mexico and New Hampshire, but you're talking about 5 and 4 electoral votes with those two states. It's not nearly as much. Elon for mass immigration so long as it's legal. Oh, dude, but so it's Trump. You know what the crazy thing is, and this is how far left the country's gone. They view Trump as like this dictator because, oh my God, he wants to deport illegal immigrants. And he still says, Trump also says he's for mass immigration. Yeah, I mean, I'm not for mass immigration at all. But that's what the Republicans are at this point. It's because the country's gone so left. Them just saying they want to deport illegals, but they're like, we want to deport illegals, but please, no. We're for mass immigration. We're for it. Because they're like, well, we need to, there's people are not having enough kids. But the answer is not immigration. That's not the answer. When people are not having enough kids, we have to incentivize people to have more children. It's more of a cultural thing. That's the other thing I was thinking when it comes to people having kids. You've got to, make it to where it's acceptable to have children. But it's just like there's so many of these women just, They just hate men and they're rabid. I think a lot of it is the internet, honestly. They just galvanize. Lewis, thank you. What the hell is Joe Biden trying to pull with all these missiles? It's not Biden, man. There's no way Biden has anything to do with this. Listen. We can hate on liberals all we want, but they're smarter than to let Joe Biden be in control of any tactical decision, especially now that he's a lame duck. He already had no power. Now he's got somehow less than no power after, with Trump coming in. This is all the Democratic establishment doing it, and it's mainly NATO, probably influenced by Europe. I'm guessing there was a lot of there was probably a power struggle and a panic that went off in the European NATO countries, and they were like, listen, can we move forward with this? Trump wants peace. He's going to give Putin a great deal. He's friends with Putin. And so I'm guessing the Trump election win probably triggered action by NATO, but again, it's probably influenced by a lot of the European countries. I know there's also the narrative, well, they want to go to World War III and they want to screw Trump and stuff. And that's if that's true, that's crazy. You're going to sacrifice going to World War III over hating a political figure that just won an election in almost a landslide. I don't know about that, man. Westfield 90, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. What can we do to increase to have more kids? Well, you have to somehow get the housing costs down for young people. You have to. There has to be more of a reliance on religion. Religion is great for having more children. It's things like that. But it seems like the left is going further and further away from that. There was this poll, and I could never find the poll, but I vividly remember a poll back in the summer, and it was one of the funniest things ever. It was basically all of the religions. It was a poll on like, who would you vote for, Biden or Harris? And Trump was winning every single religion, and then all the way at the bottom it said atheist, and then it said Harris plus 67, like plus 67 points. It's just funny, but it just goes to show you where that party is at this point. What if George Washington was made a monarch in 1776? Would a parliamentary system with a prime minister work in America? Well, that system could work anywhere if it's done properly. I do know, there's always the argument, the more you do something, the better you get at it. So why would we only allow presidents 8 years? But with the United States, to me, it's just like, it seems like people so rapidly respond one way or another. Like, people almost expect the Democrats to win in 2028 now. So, listen, if done right, that's just but look at Europe, man. Like, I feel like the United Kingdom, I had seen something today where just the lack of innovation coming from there versus the United States is startling. And I know they're a much smaller country, but it really is remarkable, the British Empire, what they were compared to what they are now. And the stuff coming out of there is just appalling. They're sending people to jail for like mean tweets about immigrants and stuff. And you almost think it's not real. Like the stuff that some of those, just normal people that grew up in England criticizing immigrants and they get sent to jail for tweets. That's. Did you see Jank Uger go? Yeah, I'll go ahead and react to it if you guys want. I need to make sure the sound is on. Hold on. Oh, I want to talk about this. This is just crazy. What is Jaguar doing? I'm sure you guys saw, the new Jaguar thing. It reminds me a lot of like, just like that devil satanic worship type stuff that was like popular, and it was popular like in 2020, 2021, like Lil Nas X, like all that stuff. What is Jaguar doing? Like, look at this. What is, like, this is the type of stuff you would see this in 2019, but it's like, I thought we moved past this. What is this? Dude, this is like, but it's not, you can't even count it as art or anything. It's just, this is the type of stuff I never understood. How is this like appealing to anyone? What are the chances Stephen Miller's influence can overtake that of Elon's on immigration? Well, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily going to be. It's not that simple to where Miller, it gets the final say on immigration, dude. I think we know Republicans what they've said, and I mean this has been their stance for a while now. Even when all the illegals poured in, it was always the exact same thing. They would say, "Well, we want no more illegal immigration," but and Trump has always said they make sure to say we want like as much legal immigration as possible. That's the Republican stance. So I don't think it's like, oh, Miller's going to do something. This is just their stance. I mean, I just don't understand what like this is the type. This is like Balenciaga or whatever. I mean, remember that? Like, what is this?
They see this. If other bigger creators make similar messages, that would be great. You asked us to mobilize. We mobilized. You asked us to volunteer. We volunteered in droves. You asked us to donate. We donated. Over $1 billion we donated. You asked us to fight. We fought. Now stop asking us to send more money, and the fight begins now, when you know damn well the fight is now in your hands, not ours. Stop showing us that you're going to play by the rules when you know very well that they're not playing by the rules. The rules have changed. You need to take action now. If you voluntarily turn this country over to the autocratic dictator and his clown show of an administration that he's been assembling, if you let democracy fall in this country, if you let millions of people die, and you know millions of people will die under that administration, then your legacy and the one thing you will be remembered for in history is allowing democracy to fall in the United States. The Biden-Harris administration will be known throughout history as the administration that let this country turn into an autocratic dictatorship, and you know we'll never get it back. If the options are dictatorship or civil war, we choose civil war. I choose civil war. Stop playing by the rules and do something.
Like, it's just interesting to see a take like that from just a middle-aged white woman. Like, if this woman was born in 1950, like, dude, the internet has changed so many people. Like, this woman is just a product of the liberal internet environment. I mean, it's just, it's like an experiment almost. It's interesting. San Antonio MLB team, AL West, Tampa Bay to Nashville. Yeah, I mean, that could happen, man. I definitely think Tampa Bay is going to Nashville. I remember back before COVID, these culture issues were hardly present, and it was fully legal then, and all of this satanic shit was mostly underground. Yeah, back in like 2018, 2019. But I mean, like, I feel like we got over this, and then they still go back to it, after Trump gets in. I mean, I never understood that stuff. Look at this net approval rating for Trump, plus 16. Imagine Trump gets approval like this. I mean, you want to talk about that we never saw polls like that in 2016 when Trump came in. That's going to be a nice grace period for Trump if that happens. She won't like the Civil War. Yeah, I mean, you don't take people like this seriously. It's more fascinating how people form their beliefs like that. I mean, because that's all media, that's a media belief. That stems from mainstream media, just maybe a little bit of Reddit. Another thing about Reddit that I saw, I tweeted about it. They've got this thing on Reddit now. They've got a subreddit dedicated to Trump stealing the election in 2024. They said Trump stole it, and there's all these things on the subreddit, and they said there's no way Trump won. And now, I mean, I guess they're election deniers. I don't know. Heard you maybe skied at Holiday Valley. Dude, that's weird. I was just thinking about Holiday Valley today for whatever reason. That's pretty crazy that you actually said that. Now, Holiday Valley, I think, is the best. It's got to be one of the best ski resorts in the Northeast. Probably Burlington is better, but I like Holiday Valley a lot. Yeah, when they say they want a civil war, it's just so unserious. Reddit is cancer. I mean, it depends what subreddit you use. I mean, if you anything political on Reddit is really bad. I believe that you remember that. I do remember. I was still a little bit young for it, but the subreddit, the Donald, and they banned it. They banned the Donald. I think in like 2016, like really early. They banned that. Did you see Sonny Hostin had to admit Matt Gaetz is innocent? Yeah, like I don't know what it was. Probably she got like some legal notice or something. Yeah, those women are rabid as well. So much for their coping about the popular vote. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're still trying to say stuff like, "Oh, Trump at least got under 50% because they're still counting votes somehow. They're still counting votes." But yeah, I think Trump's ended up. My guess is he wins the popular vote by like 1.7, 1.6. Are we reacting to? I mean, I think everyone's probably seen the clip, but I'll see if I can find it. I would imagine it's the first thing that shows up.
Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get in.
But how much Botox does Lichtman have here? I mean, he can barely like move his. You can't even see his. There's no like skin movement with Lichtman. It's really weird.
This discussion, but Juan, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in a
point.
total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah, right.
Looks like a
Right.
scarecrow.
Yeah,
Attacks.
come find out again.
Make whatever
Okay.
point you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't
Look,
make
you
it
do, You
personal.
don't know anything. You don't know
You
anything.
attacked me
You
personally.
just are so
Oh,
deluded.
right. I've only
Okay.
been a
Can I
professor
just-
for 51 years.
on this program,
published
I've never been
13
able to
books.
finish a
How many
thought.
books have you published? No, because you're personally
Yeah.
attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to
Okay,
stand
but
for
brother,
personal
you got it
attacks.
wrong.
Say
You were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just
Don't
finish a
call me
goddamn thought
stupid.
ever on this show?
No, not if you're
Okay,
personally
well,
I
you proved
admitted
it.
I was wrong. I don't need you
He did admit he was wrong. He said the voters were manipulated by disinformation. This guy is a 13-year-old girl. I can't believe there's a grown man that acts like this.
to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say,
What
it's
kind of
great to see
nonsense
you
is that?
Democrats
Yeah, I
all
know.
getting
Who
along
taught
so
you
well.
manners?
It's lovely to
You
see a
need one. Can I
post-election
finish a
harmony as you all
goddamn
come
point?
together
We're
again.
just one
Alan,
right now.
shh. Hey, Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut-up juice, so can you just shut up for a second and let someone who knows what
Not
they're
if
doing
you're
so
gonna
right,
personally
Pierce.
attack
You're
me.
so right.
So-
We're so
Make
unified
any
right now.
point you
Okay.
want.
So-
I will not sit here and stand
So-
for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't boost your own
Blasphemy
ego
against you?
by
Who the hell are
attacking
you?
me
Are you
like that.
Jesus
Just
Christ,
make your
you
points.
loser? Okay,
Make your
can I
points.
just give the correct answer for once?
Oh man, they do those shows. They do those shows get fiery with the panels. Reddit is where people go when they figure out their wives are seeing other men. Michael, thank you. Sounds like a middle school argument. Yeah, I mean, well, he just can't admit he's wrong. His ego is so massive, and he just so pathetically wrong. Harry Sisson did a giggle. Yes, yeah, he was real happy there. I don't know. Dude was smiling the whole time. He liked it. Remember when Piers was a big time liberal? Well, yeah, Piers just plays both sides. I mean, I guess he is a little bit more conservative. It does seem like he's more conservative when he brings liberal people on, and more liberal when he brings conservative people on. I mean, for a host like that, you know, Piers kind of has like the best job. You can kind of debate people, but then just say you're the host, so it doesn't really matter if you lose a debate. You know? 98% of the votes are reporting. Well, let's hope it gets to 100 very soon. But yeah, Trump should win by like 1.6, 1.7% percent. VG, I saw that clip. They fired that dude. Did you know that? They fired that dude who said that on CNN. If the Rays go to Nashville, what will happen to the Triple A side? Well, they would just become Nashville, and then they would just go to Nashville or go around Nashville as well. They would just become a minor league organization for Nashville. Dave Smith called me a warmonger. Yeah, he does call everyone that. It doesn't surprise me. BTC 100K soon. Yeah, it'll happen with Bitcoin. I mean, I think Bitcoin's at least, I mean, hopefully this cycle at least 150 minimum. But I don't know. Maybe 200. Is Colorado a lost cause? For Republicans to win Colorado, yeah, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Especially considering Colorado really didn't move, and with that, you know, the other states moving, Colorado stayed like a 13 or 14 point win. Yeah, I saw the person. I think that was Joey Galloway who said that Indiana should bench Curtis Work during the OSU game. Yeah, obviously that's not going to happen. Anna Kasparian said she's done with the Democratic Party. Yeah, but it seems like the Young Turks is. I think they got pretty pissed off. No, none of the like actual main Democrats really listened to them at all. The establishment Dems, and you know, I think Jank saw how well it was working out. How Anna was being embraced by Republicans. At least I don't know what she is now, like an independent or whatever, but. And I mean, you're seeing it's obvious. I mean, this is certainly the voters spoke, and I think the Young Turks they're kind of realizing that people don't they hate this woke bullshit. Is McCormick definitely going to win the Senate? Yeah, he is. It's impossible for him to lose it at this point. Jank and Piers are the only ones who got it. The delusion of Lichtman, Kyle Kalinske, Brian Tyler Cohen, and the rest of those guys is unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, they're all going to have their cope and whatever, and that's fine, I guess. I mean, I did see Kalinske, the blonde hair little boy. I saw him reacting to. I mean, how are you like a political analyst for over a decade and you overreact to exit polls? The dude uploaded a video of himself reacting to exit polls because you know, like during the election day, you get the exit polls at 6 o'clock, and he's like, "Oh my god, the number one issue is democracy. This is so horrible for Trump." Like, I mean, how many elections have you been through? Do you not understand that exit polls are completely meaningless? And by the way, it turned out the democracy that was a topic that Trump won because, I mean, I don't know what it was, but someone was telling me about how more voters liked Trump on the democracy topic. But it's just like, you know, you're doing an entire YouTube video on exit polls. It's down to 10.9 difference in Colorado. Really? I thought it was more than that. Dave Smith is a liar. I think most people like Dave Smith, at least on the right. Most people. I mean, the guy just calls everyone a warmonger, and I understand. No, we don't want war. I agree with him there, but I don't know what it was. But he's just. I mean, Dave Smith, it seems like has gotten a lot more popular recently. Go Bucks. That's a big game for Ohio State, man, on Saturday. We'll see. The Young Turks, I thought was, yeah, they are liberal. They've been very liberal. Thoughts on John Fetterman? I don't know how someone like that wins. I mean, everyone should get hope after Fetterman won. I mean, I guess he said some funny stuff, but he's just a liberal. I mean, the guy can't even dress. I don't know, man. I know he suffered a head injury and stuff, and I feel bad for him for that. But I mean, you gotta at least dress up a little bit when you doing these events. Young Turks should add Charlie Kirk. I don't think he would ever join them. I mean, he doesn't have to. Why would he join them? Dave Smith might speak to Trump on the Rogan podcast. Yeah, I saw that. I think Trump said something about doing it with Smith or something. It was something like that.
So Mika and Joe went down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. It's the last time I ever watched Morning Joe. Period.
Oh.
End of statement.
A
Unreal.
loyal viewer.
Unreal. For months you were telling us he's the worst thing that could happen to this country and democracy. And then you go kiss his ring? Despicable. Despicable.
Well, I guess Rosie got angry that Joe Scarborough went down to Mar-a-Lago to try and beg Trump, considering Trump's going to be in the White House the next 4 years. Only Rosie O'Donnell. How accurate were the 2024 polls now that every vote is counted? Would it be worth looking at again? No, I mean, I think the 2024 polls were decent. They weren't obviously extremely accurate, but they were decent enough. They were decent enough to at least be within the ballpark. So I mean that's just my take on the 2024 polls, honestly. With every vote counted, I mean Trump wins the popular vote by 1.7. I mean I think they were fine. Knowing the retardation of the electorate, 40% will vote out the GOP in 28 purely because they were the government party, and since the GOP are controversial even. Well, obviously, I mean, that's always going to happen right now. It's going to be very hard for either. I mean, there's going to be guaranteed people that no matter what Trump does, vote liberal in 2028. That's just going to, I mean, that's, and no matter what, if Republicans are bad, there's going to be people that vote conservative. I mean, that's just where the country is, and I don't see it changing at all no matter what. But as long as Trump, I mean, right now it's clear Trump has captured the just normal independence. I mean, when you win an election like that and all, I mean, but to be fair, the swing states were close outside of Arizona. Arizona was a solid win, but the swing states were close. So it's just when you're able to capture those independent people, really, and also people didn't. I guess Harris got less support in 2024 than 2020, although you could say. In 2020, there really wasn't that much support. Am I gonna make March Madness content? Yeah, normally that stuff is good. March Madness content is it's like a 1 month thing, man. Because if you make it outside of March, it's very hard to get views on it. Normally, I'll just do like the bracketology stuff. Honestly, I don't know when I would do the first one of that. I mean, I could do the first one tomorrow, but it's just I don't know if it's really worth it. Do you think Arizona has become a lean red? Yeah, no, I would definitely classify Arizona. Well, I mean, when 5.5 points to me, let's see what the voter registration numbers look like, in 2026, 2027. But Right now, I would say out of any swing state, out of the main 7 that everyone was talking about, you could argue it's lean red. All the other swing states are still swing states. The margins weren't big enough. PA wasn't close for PA winning PA by 2 points. I mean, I don't know, man. Winning 2, but that's still close. 2 points is, to me, is close. It's close enough to where it's like, I mean, to me, a blowout in PA, I agree with you. I mean, it's PA. If you were to tell me Trump would win it by 2 points, I'd say that's great because you're not talking about recounts or waiting. You know, that's a nice margin to where you don't have to deal with any of that bullshit. But it's also like a blowout in PA. If Trump won PA by like 3.3, I'd be like, whoa. You know, it was kind of like Florida in 2020. Like, I was shocked in 2020 when Trump won Florida by like 3.1 or whatever it was because I thought there's no way. I mean, 2 point or 1.9 or whatever it was, that's for PA, that's a solid margin, but I don't think it's like I was shocked by it. I certainly thought Wisconsin was going to be a little bit bigger of a margin than it was. It was like 1 point, I think. Exactly 1 point. Why is Vermont so blue? That question always gets asked with Republicans and, you know, on Twitter, and it always gets answered the same thing. I mean, you know, that country is, or that state is extremely white. And so whatever they vote for, they're not going to really be impacted by any of it. That's a lot of the answers you'll get for that. When will Alaska House race be called? It's at 99% in. Oh my goodness. Dude, those House races. Well, Alaska, I mean, I guess you could understand why Alaska takes a while just because of how big their state is. But I mean, honestly, in 2024, we should get these it counted faster. I mean, it should be called if it's at 99%. Unless the difference is like 0.01 or something like that. His speeches were widely described and marked by authoritarian and dehumanizing rhetoric towards his political opponents. His campaign and populist political movement were characterized by several. That sounds like a good, nicely ran campaign. You still think they cheated in Wisconsin? I was pretty surprised when I woke up and saw the margin in Wisconsin. Not that it matters, I mean, because they called Wisconsin at night, but I was like, wow. I was surprised at the margin, honestly. Like, look at this. This will be a good response. Here, I'll tell you guys how to respond to this. So Russia can illegally invade a sovereign democratic European country, murder thousands of Ukraine civilians, then rope in North Korean soldiers to help them wage war. And the West's correct response should be to check notes, give Putin what he's stolen. And then, I don't know, do fuck off. But Piers Morgan has to understand, he acts like war is... He acts like there's fairness in war. There's no fairness in war. Like, if it was fair, then Ukraine would have as big of an army as Russia does, but they don't. It's like people think like this. You're acting like everything's an even playing field. This is all a risk assessment. Yo, what's up, man? I already reacted to the Lichtman clip. You can rewind it, Andrew. You can rewind it like probably 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. We are winning New Jersey in 2020. I mean, it's possible. CNN hammering Gates. Who cares? It's because of the Milwaukee dump. Yeah. They do have those. The crazy thing is with those dumps, they'll come in. It'll be like 95% in, and they'll still dump a bunch of liberal ballots. You think once it gets to like 95%, it's not going to change the margin, and then it does. Why is Minnesota very blue? Well, it's not very blue. I mean, it's like a 5 or a 6 point margin. A very blue would be like 14 or 15 point margin. Outside of Minneapolis, ruby red like Alabama. Yeah, but because Minneapolis is a major... I mean, my guess is just the surrounding areas of Minneapolis, Republicans aren't doing nearly well enough. But a lot of people talk about Minnesota and how Republicans can never win it. What if Biden escalates World War III and it starts under Trump? Well, I mean, it's really... I understand what you mean, like Biden's administration, but Biden's really not doing anything I would be very surprised if World War III started with the rhetoric that Trump's had. Very surprised. I mean, who knows? Nobody thought that Ukraine, or nobody thought that Ukraine would be invaded. So we just don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I mean, it is an escalation. I would argue it's an escalation to try and give Ukraine better leverage for a peace deal. But especially if Trump, I mean, if Zelensky, Putin have already said that they're willing to do a peace deal with Trump, and Trump says he wants to do one, you would figure something could be worked out. But you know, it's just going to be seen as appeasement to Russia. So I mean, from the Butler rally to the day after the election, for a month, you were getting 2 to 3K a live stream. What happened? Well, I don't think I was getting that many, man. I might have been getting that a few days before the election, but I don't think I was getting that many consistently. 2 to 3,000. Have you ever been to Kings Island or Cedar Point? Cedar Point, yeah. Not Kings Island. What are your thoughts on the New York case against Trump? Why wait until 2029? What, wait until he's out of office? That's such a joke, man. Such a joke. They really want to get Trump no matter what. I'm guessing that's what it is. Who's more likely to make the playoff, A&M or Arizona State? Probably, I mean, I don't think A&M's backing it. I would say Arizona State. A&M has 2 very losable games, and then I guess they would have the SEC championship. But if they lose again, they're going to be out. A&M, Arizona State, technically, I mean, I would have to look at the tiebreakers, but they could win out, and I'm guessing make the Big 12 championship. At this point, Putin isn't going to do anything worse than they already are. They're so weak. They have North Korean. I mean, honestly, dude, are they seriously that weak? Because I just wonder with Russia, are they just trying to save troops, save, material? Or are they seriously that weak to where they can't take over Ukraine? I mean, is it seriously that bad with Russia? Because, I mean, this is just pure fear-mongering if it actually is that bad. I mean, I don't think Russia could have any chance of taking over really any part of Europe outside of like Ukraine and maybe a few of those other bordering countries. Will Trump respond to Biden letting Ukraine use U.S. missiles? I mean, we'll see if anyone asks him about it. Normally when Trump might respond with like one of the, he does those videos where like he there's a script and stuff, and I like those videos because he coherently says a lot in a short period of time. Maybe he'll do a video where he just talks and films himself. I think he did do a video talking about how he just said it needs to de-escalate. It's basically the same thing he's always said. I believe he already responded to that, if I saw that correct video like a day ago, talking about how nuclear war is the worst thing that can happen. He's really anti-nuclear war, and liberals never really talk about nuclear war. I mean, obviously every human is basically every human is anti-nuclear war, but liberals really never even talk about nukes. It's kind of strange. Because I know they support the Ukraine, and if you're anti-nukes, you're anti-Ukraine because you're anti-escalation and you don't want to help Ukraine. What would it take for you to vote Democrat in 2028? I just think there's a significant difference in core beliefs with the Democrats. I don't think I'd be interested in voting for the Democrats. I mean, the Democrats were a lot closer to the center in the 90s, and I mean, the left will say that about conservatives in the 90s as well. So, but it's just, there's not a lot of beliefs that I agree with Democrats on. It's be very hard for me to vote Democrat. It's like Biden lost all of his cognitive ability. Listen to him on January 20th, 2021, November 3rd, 2020. He spent. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, dude, if you listen to Biden during that State of the Union, and I think it was did he do a State of the Union in 2024? It would be like February 2024 is when it always happens. But he really wasn't that bad. Like, like he gets through it, and they always use the excuse, oh, he's got this stutter and stuff, and that's why. But I feel like if Biden wouldn't have performed so terribly at the debate, they would have tried to get Biden over the finish line because liberals, they had to have known how bad Harris was based off of her approval rating. And a lot of that was the internal people saying that the only reason Harris was picked was because Biden immediately endorsed Harris. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. Have you ever been outside the country? Yeah, I've been outside the country on vacation only, though. A few different times. Never to Europe. I've never been to Europe, but mainly vacation spots like Punta Cana, Jamaica, Mexico, St. Lucia. And I mean, I guess I would want to go to Europe. I don't know. You know, Europe is just. It's just the weather in Europe is so shit. But I mean, probably, you know, maybe somewhere in Europe, I guess. I'd have to think about it. I mean, people say, you know, maybe Ireland, but it's like, I mean, I've never been to Ireland. I really don't know how much how much Irish I am. How do you feel about Nevada? I still think it's a swing state. I mean, it was a solid victory for Trump. I didn't expect him to win it by 3, but it is still a swing state, Nevada. I mean, like the thing is with Nevada, that's a state to where if you're in 2027, like if it gets to 2028 and you start seeing, you know, a lot of polls where Trump's up, you could argue that it's, you know, it shifted because, you know, you could argue it shifted with Trump winning by 3, but it's one of those states where it's like you're going to have to see it again, at least in the polls, to say, well, it's definitely. I mean, it's like Arizona, but Arizona, I think, is even more so. I mean, Arizona, I always thought was a conservative state. Then again, I also thought Wisconsin was like, it just feels like Wisconsin would be a conservative state. I don't know. I know the big cities and stuff, but you have on your channel the shorts of Kamala election night supporters. Well, a lot of people have stuff on that. I went to Mexico and I hated that piece of shit. Well, I mean, you went to Mexico. Where did you go? Did you go to a resort or? I went to Cancun. I went to a resort. I mean, Mexico is very interesting. You know, you go to Cancun and then it's like, I guess it depends on where your resort is located, but mine was like 2 hours away. So you get into like this big van that seats like 8 people or whatever. And you drive 2 hours and you go down like you just all just dirt, and then there'll be like this really nice resort, and then for another 3 miles just dirt, and then the gates of another nice resort, and then another 3 miles it's just all dirt, and then there'll be the gates of another nice resort, and it's just funny. But yeah, I mean, you know, I went to Jamaica, and you fly into Jamaica, and it took us like 2 hours again, 2.5 hours to go from the airport to the resort, and just the amount of unused like shoreline that they have is just crazy. And in the United States, it's like it would be worth millions of dollars. I mean, every single day it's like 80 degrees and sunny in these areas, and it's just unused. It was interesting to see. I forget the place I went that had an outdoor airport. Might have been St. Lucia, I don't remember. They had like an outdoor airport. It's just so humid in these places. But I haven't been anywhere really since like 2015 maybe. I did most of it when I was younger. Thoughts on Mexico's president? The woman, not good at all. Not good. Mexico's got huge issues. Their country's controlled by the cartel. You see how many like Mexican politicians get murdered? It's horrible. And that's why really Vivek, I would say Vivek started the whole idea of fighting the cartel. I mean, I guess it's been around for a while, but Vivek kind of made it mainstream, fighting the cartels. Go to Japan. Japan is a very, very well put together society, respectful society. John, I appreciate it. Thank you. Go conquer Greenland. Go to Ireland. Doesn't matter how Irish you are. Yeah, I don't know, man. I heard Dublin was a little bit of a disappointment. Is Dublin boring or not? Dude, you know what's bullshit about Ireland? How is Northern Ireland still a thing? They need to annex that. That's absurd to me. If I was born in Ireland, I'd be so angry that Northern Ireland exists, man. So angry. You're better off going to Boston, Massachusetts. Massachusetts swung to Trump by 7 points. It's still crazy liberal, but it was kind of funny to see that it was like one of the biggest states that swung to Trump. Favorability among 18 to 29-year-olds. I don't know how true that is. That's pretty crazy, man. That's my age range. Do you think Russia will use nukes on the West? No, I don't think Russia would use nukes, especially right now. I mean, it's a death sentence for Russia. It really is. And it just doesn't seem like Russia. I mean, for whatever people want to talk about with Putin and him being aggressive and annexing Crimea, he really hasn't done anything radically crazy. I mean, listen, nobody knows, though. It's just speculation. I mean, if he decides to do it, then he decides to do it. We can just speculate on what he's going to do. I mean, obviously, this escalation gives him more of a justification to do it, although it's still not a justification, but it's more of a, oh yeah, now I can use longer range or more long range missiles because NATO and the West and the United States in specific is allowing this to happen. And now the United States is in a war against Russia, even though that's really not true, but that's what Putin said. And I mean, to a degree it is. It's a proxy war. But I mean, does Russia really have the means to do anything against the United States? I would say no, they don't. And they don't want to poke the bear. So Putin, he does his bluffing, and that's fine. And it comes down to really, this entire thing is a risk assessment. It's NATO thinking that Russia's not going to do anything crazy. And we'll see what Russia ends up doing. No one could have won Dems' election in 2024. Remember when all the Republicans were talking about Haley beating Biden, Harris, and Newsom by like 10 points? Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. Those type of polls, those hypothetical matchups, those polls are total bullshit. Every single poll back in 2016, Bernie Sanders against Trump had Sanders beating Trump by like 10 points. Those hypothetical election polls they don't really work. And I know there were great polls for Haley because Haley technically at that time, she was seen as like this. I mean, if you don't get slandered through the cycle, it's just like Josh Shapiro. Everyone loves Josh Shapiro. He's got a good approval rating because nobody's really attacked Shapiro in a national way. A lot of that is just the candidates not getting attacked, so they have this great approval rating because there's no bad press. I mean, look at Tim Walz. Tim Walz was loved. And I mean, maybe Tim Walz still has an okay approval rating, but you get into the national spotlight, it's going to get a lot worse for you. You're going to get exposed. Imagine conservative majority cities. Yeah, well, the way to do that is there needs to be a massive city built, preferably in South Dakota. I mean, you could maybe do it you're trying to get to into the most middle of the country. I mean, it would be South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, and then possibly the eastern part of Oregon, the eastern part of Washington. But I would say build a major city probably like in South Dakota, and build it from the ground up. Like the thing is with major cities now, there's a lot of these cities like New York City, Chicago, they're all structured in a way that's prehistoric relative to where we are now because, if you built a city today, most of the traffic would flow underground and you could do it very, very easily. But the thing is, when you're designing a massive city, if the advantage you have is it's going to be a big city. A lot of these cities start off small and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and they outgrow themselves. And so the way in which they're structured doesn't make sense anymore. So I think if you imagine actually committing to building a massive city that's conservative, and the best way to deal with in a big city, the best way to deal with homeless is to just not have any. So when there's there's any homeless people, you got to nip it in the bud immediately. Like, look at what California did. Once there's too many of them, it's impossible to deal with without being inhumane. You just can't deal with it because those people, they don't really want to turn their lives around. They're so messed up on drugs. that's a big thing. That's a big problem is homeless and also the lack of laws. But like every huge city is liberal, and it's a snowball effect because the liberals are soft on crime, especially minority crime, and so that it's a big issue, and nothing ever gets fixed. Because Eric Adams was supposed to be like a badass, even though he was liberal. He was supposed to be tougher on crime, and Eric Adams, I knew he would do it because you've got all these liberal like J.B. Pritzker, and they're like, we're gonna keep the illegals here. You can't deport them from us. And Adams was like, dude, the illegals are ruining our city. They need to go. And I knew Adams would say that. I think Adams wants the illegals gone. But you've got all these other liberal leaders like angry about, oh, you're gonna take all the illegals. We're gonna fight it. It's not right. You can't do this. So now they're all of the liberal mayors and the liberal governors are going to try and fight Trump's deportations. But I don't think they can fight the deportations of the criminals. I don't think they can fight them. Jeb Bush Jr. Does Jeb Bush have a son? Jacksonville is a Republican city. Well, it's Duval County, so I think it did go Republican by one point, but that was the last time I saw it. Republican by one point is really. I mean, you're talking about like we need a city that's like 75% Republican. Fort Worth, Texas, still the biggest Republican county. I don't know, maybe Duval now, or Miami-Dade. Mark Cuban versus Vance. I mean, it's possible. I don't know if they're gonna pick Cuban. I mean, he's got like a puncher's chance, I guess. I don't know. Cuban, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does returning to the limelight because he's kind of kept his name out of the news, and it's not surprising. Anyone here to see the new Jaguar commercial? I watched it. Yeah, I watched it earlier on stream, man. Did you see their new logo too? Their logo is horrible. Oh, here's the. I mean, is this real? I don't know. This is just. This might be a troll. I don't know. Are the libs still refusing to certify? No, they'll certify. If Trump is so good for 4 years, can he get a third term? They'd have to change a constitutional amendment. It's not going to happen unless something crazy happens. Do you think you can host a mod discussion someday on Discord or Zoom? A YouTube mod discussion, you're saying? I mean, I guess if you guys need to say something about it. Do you think ICE will go to Springfield and get rid of the Haitians? I think the Haitians are going to get their temporary status revoked. A lot of them are leaving, apparently. They're going to Canada now. Don't think Vance would get nearly as many. Low propensity. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Those are the people that's very hard for Republicans to get in without Trump. Vance just wouldn't be able to energize, but I think, you know, Trump would be supporting Vance and he would be campaigning with him, so it'd be a little bit easier. But I know what you're saying. Did you see Elon and Vivek having a Doge podcast? Is that like a reoccurring thing that they're doing? An update? I mean, it is really nice to see the transparency. Well, Elon knows that when you have transparency, you're immediately going to become more likable. Ellen DeGeneres moved to the UK. Yeah, I saw that. She moved to Great Britain. It was on the news. I mean, listen, honestly, I'm glad someone actually followed through with moving out. I mean, these people are just so, you know, there she is right there. She fled to Great Britain. How do you, like, you make a decision to flee a country because someone that your political party didn't win? I mean, it's like, it's one of the most pathetic things. Ellen has moved to Great Britain. She lists her, I guess, multi-million-dollar estate, never coming back to the United States. Did you hear Quebec is tightening its borders because of the mass exodus? Quebec is? Yeah, well, didn't Trudeau say they're not accepting any more immigrants? I mean, he's like for the next few months. I know Trudeau said that. Trudeau's done next year. How come nobody talks about 300K Ukrainian migrants? What, that came here from the war? I mean, that does seem like a little bit of a different situation. Are you talking about the ones that is that how many that came in 300K from the war into the United States? Because I do know some stories of Ukraine people moving here. But that would be like that would be, you know, that's an exemption that a lot of illegals are trying to go for as well. It's like if your country has a crisis, you know, you can have asylum in the United States. What do you think would happen? Vance Holly ticket versus Newsom Pritzker? I think Vance would win. There's no way that they would run Newsom and Pritzker, man. That would be a horrible ticket. So that would be California and Illinois, and one of the dudes a fat billionaire, the other dude's a slicked back, annoying, you know, California bro. Newsom and Pritzker would be a ticket that the Democrats would never run. If they were running Newsom, they would have to try and go like a power duo with Whitmer. Because if Newsom was the lead, they would have to go swing state guaranteed for the VP. That's what they didn't do with Walz. I mean, that's why everyone thought they were going to go with a swing state, and they picked Walz, which surprised everyone. Newsom and Pritzker as a death duo. That would be horrible for them. Trudeau is losing the polls by 25 to 30 points. Wish American libs were smart and support. Well, that's not. Yeah, he's losing the polls by 25 or 30 because he's getting some of that liberal vote siphoned by the Socialist Party, because there's three main parties in Canada. Two of them are liberal and they split votes, just like the Europeans. They have a more left party. I think Trudeau is the establishment liberal, and then they have like a socialist party. And Trudeau is getting a lot of his votes sniped by the Socialist Party, and so that's why he's down by like 25 to the Conservative in the polls. Well, we have to see how Trump governs. It's hard to say. It's based on how Trump does. I mean, it also is based on you know, population shifts and stuff. Like if you're talking about 2024 to 2028, I think it's going to be hard for Trump to outperform his numbers in Texas in 2028. Because what did he win Texas by 30? Because a lot of that is also just liberals not showing up, and you know, also the Hispanic vote, which is something that liberals, I'm sure, are going to be on in 2028 for sure. They did not expect that, especially with both really Hispanic men and women. But Hispanic men shifted crazy. What would be the worst Republican ticket? Like realistic or not? Because you could do non-realistic tickets that would be terrible. But I mean, because like it's so hard with Republicans, it seems like it's going to be Vance guaranteed. So it's like, you know, I could say, well, Nikki Haley would be the worst, but I just don't think there's any chance that would ever happen. But like the worst in terms of winning, Chris Christie. Imagine Chris Christie runs again. I think Chris Christie ran like with his donors just gave him money to try and dunk on Trump, and then Trump never went to the debates. Do you remember that? Like Chris Christie ran and then just started sparring with Vivek in the debates. I remember Trump tweeting out a emoji of like Chris Christie at the like his face at a buffet or something during one of the debates. Oh my god, the audio is cutting out. You're gonna have to reload it. You're gonna have to reload it, guys. I don't know why this keeps happening. Just close the stream and then reload it if the audio. I'm telling you, this happens every stream. It has nothing to do with my audio. The audio is the exact same. I mean, look at it. It's not gonna stop. It's not gonna be bad. Reload it. Reload the stream. It's a YouTube problem. I'm telling you guys. There's nothing I can do about it. This happens a lot. You're not cutting out. I know this happens with people. I mean, it's Chris Christie, Nikki Haley ticket. Yeah, imagine if Trump, if MAGA never happened, that would be the ticket. What kind of you OD'd on? I don't even know what that is, man. You went to Ireland in 2019. Beautiful country. Dublin is a tourist trap. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you got to refresh the stream. You got to refresh the stream to fix the audio. You think Lee Zeldin can win the gubernatorial race? Yeah, I mean they love him. And plus, I think it was competitive in 2022 in New York, wasn't it? Very competitive. Do you feel like DeSantis captivates the base more than Vance? I mean, dude, the thing is, it feels like DeSantis has done a lot more than Vance, but Vance is the VP, and DeSantis kind of cooked himself by going against MAGA, so it's hard, you know? Do you think that it's time to cut out relationships with some European countries in the UK that are on their way to becoming a socialist Muslim dumpster fire and find new allies? Well, the thing is with those European countries, they are shifting to the right, and undoubtedly, I mean, like France is going to be, I think, very right wing in a decade or so, because people can only take a certain amount, and then they'll shift. I mean, and even in those the elections that the Liberals won in the UK and France, they shifted right. But I understand what you're saying. I mean, in those places, it is pretty crazy how they've treated their own population versus the incoming immigrants, and especially the UK. I don't hear as much about France, at least recently. You were extremely impressed with Vance since the presidential debate. Yeah, I mean, Vance certainly. I mean, Vance did what I thought he would do. He would come across very well, very articulate. He had a good debate, and he made himself a lot more likable. DeSantis still wearing heels. Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. I mean, with politicians, you got to be, if you're not 6'1", 6'2", it's tough. What is DeSantis? I think DeSantis is like 6 foot, and he still wore them, or maybe 5'11". I don't know. Do you think Matt will be confirmed? I highly doubt it. Do you think Kari Lake is going to run again in 2026? I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of Kari Lake supporters that were angry because McConnell didn't give her any money. And I mean, dude, but the problem is, like, if Trump's going to win that state by 5.5, I mean, that's a state you got to carry. The Senate race should have been won. Vance carries himself very well. Yeah, it's not surprising. Ivy League, well, younger guy, well spoken. 5'9". There's no way he's 5'9". Is he seriously? I mean, to be fair, I feel like a lot of politicians do that, and it seemed like, people were just kind of making fun of DeSantis because he was going against MAGA and he was the biggest threat to MAGA, so they were going after him and stuff. We love Ron down here in Florida. I mean, I like DeSantis, dude. I think DeSantis, Florida was already probably going to be a Republican state, but he made it like, I mean, the audio is fixed if you refresh it. He made it, like, the change in Florida is just so crazy, man. It really is. Ron lost some points in your book for campaigning against Trump. Yeah, I know, but I can understand from DeSantis' point of view. If you go back to like 2023, he was polling better than Trump. So it's like, how many chances are you going to get as a politician? So I understand where he's coming from, and he took his chance. He thought Trump, after January 6th, he was a lot more unlikable. Seemed like people were kind of done with Trump, and it just didn't work out for him. It's Clark County could flip red, and yeah, wasn't Clark County was very close. I thought it was almost red, and maybe I didn't see the final vote numbers, but it was like 51-49 or something. It could definitely flip. I fear the GOP will be leaderless after his second term. Trump's second term, you don't think Vance has what it takes in terms of being a lead? Yeah, I mean, the GOP is going to need a big dog. Yeah, probably. You're right. A new big dog. I don't know if it can be Vance. Sister's breast cancer surgery was a success. Congratulations. Very good news. What kind of a comment is that? I think celebrities are leaving U.S. due to impending lists of both Epstein and Diddy. What, Ellen? I don't know, man. It's hard to speculate on that stuff. Why would Trump nominate Matt if he can't get confirmed? That's actually a funny question because people were already, they were speculating that Trump wanted to push through some questionable people. You could argue Tulsi, RFK Jr., but they're more likely to, you're not going to deny all of them. I mean, Trump, has almost has a mandate. You could argue he does with his win. And so a lot, even if they do deny, you're not going to deny all of them. So if you deny Gates, you deny Gates, but the other ones Trump is hoping get pushed through. Rather than Trump picking some cookie cutter and then maybe Tulsi being in the spotlight and RFK being in the spotlight. Now Gates is in the spotlight over them. Vance still has the liberal energy. No, I understand what you're saying. That's why I liked Trump back in 2015. Trump had this old style of being a leader. It's just hard to harness that. Did you see Tyler Oliver's video on Canada's supervised safe drug centers? They were all unsanitary and unsafe. No, I've never seen that. I never seen that video. Most annoying Democrat pay influencer. The Krasenstein. You think it's Harry Sisson? Yeah, I mean he got paid and then they called him out on it and then he denied it. I think he got like 100K or something, or he probably got a lot more than that for this cycle. But they just blew money. I mean that campaign blew $1 billion. Do we see reining in the Federal Reserve and tax code simplification? Yeah, Musk has been constantly talking about the tax code and how long it is, how needlessly long it is. Dude, honestly, you could just put the entire tax code into ChatGPT and say simplify this to X number of words, and there it is. I mean, it's not that easy, but it's it's like he'll put it into Grok, not ChatGPT. Religion, beliefs. I'm Christian. Hopefully the new MAGA GOP actually fixes healthcare. Healthcare is a tricky one. Crashed by a... Yeah, he's that dude's But well, there's two of them. They multiply. Opinion on capital punishment. Capital punishment is one thing where it seems like Republicans are genuinely 50-50. I always thought capital punishment, if someone did something really, really bad and it was so obvious, my question is, why are they alive? But then people are like, well, there's so many cases where people are innocent and stuff and you can't do that. I don't know. There's just something wrong if somebody did something horrific, heinously bad. Them being alive, it's like... It's just weird. It's just weird to me. Odds on Starship moon landing during Trump's presidency. I'm surprised Musk seems obsessed with Mars. I haven't heard much on the moon, but it seems like the moon would be a lot easier. It's way closer. Because we haven't been to the moon, since people think we never went to the moon, but like 50 years, so what Apollo 17? Jay Leno. Yeah, Jay Leno got beat up or something. I don't know what happened to him, man. That was not good. We know the first Trump cabinet was the Pence administration. No way all those rhinos were Trump picks. Well, Trump was totally overwhelmed. He was totally overwhelmed in 2016 when he went in. There's no doubt about it. Rubio, yeah, I mean, the Rubio pick is it doesn't surprise me based on Trump's rhetoric with Israel, though. You have to be honest, it doesn't necessarily surprise me. Yeah, you would figure they would go to the moon before Mars. Mars is Mars, you can't even go to Mars realistically until 2033 based on when Mars and Earth are closest together. So I think the mission would be 2033 to 2035. But Musk was like, but Trump was like, we're going to go to Mars before my term ends. I don't know. Chances of Kamala being the nominee in 2028, 0. Best path for DeSantis, I don't know what DeSantis is going to do. I mean, I think DeSantis has got a really good approval rating. He's well known. He did great in Florida. But after governor, I don't know what he's going to do. Senate. But then it's like, is that a step down? Is it worth it? Another run for presidency, but you're fighting an uphill battle against Vance and MAGA, just like you were in 2024. It's hard to say. The Mars pictures and videos are AI. I mean, I don't think so, man. I mean, some of them might be AI. I don't know which ones you're looking at. Yeah, but there's really no reason to fake Mars pictures at this point. I mean, the pictures that I've seen, it just looks like just looks like a massive desert somewhere in Africa or something, with maybe a little bit more of a red tint. Trump should build a space elevator. I remember seeing that proposal of that when I was younger. Space elevator. Rick Scott went from governor to Senate. Yeah. Rick Scott did way better than a lot of people thought. That was one of the biggest polling misses, was Rick Scott, because the polls had Rick Scott winning by like 4, and he won basically by Trump's same margin, 13.5. He like underperformed Trump by like 0.5. He performed really well. Did you see the escalation in Russia? I did see it, man. It's everyone's talking about it, you know. There's a lot to discuss with that. I've done some videos on it. Poll shows Kamala has at least 30% of support for the California gubernatorial race in 2026. Yeah, I mean, people were saying she was going to do that and win in California, but she's not going to be the nominee in 2028. Vance is being underestimated. I think him being nice with Walz on the debate was a strategy to be a contrast to Trump's personality. Well, no, I would agree with that, but I still think Vance generally is a lot less crass than Trump, and that's just his personality, it feels like. Which is going to appeal more to independent voters, but it's also, you're risking not turning out your own base. That would be the problem with that. Have you always been into politics? I was really into politics back in 2015 during Trump's first run. And then, when you're young like that, I mean, I followed stuff, things like that. It was kind of weird for me to be that young. And 2020, but 2020 was such a mess, man. What a terrible political cycle that was. And then everything that happened. And then, I was into it. I did some political videos in 2023, a few here and there, talking about the Republican primary. But the Republican primary was a joke, The Democrat, they didn't have a primary, which is kind of funny considering everything that happened to Biden. That party is so establishment based. The Democrats, it's not even funny. Those people are so controlled. Just look at their primary system. They kicked RFK off the ballot it wasn't even like he was going to win anything, but they just said, no, you're not allowed. And then they didn't even recognize Marianne Williamson, and then another dude tried running, and it was like, the establishment was like, no, you're not. They're like, this dude's like 95 years old. He can't talk. Someone else has, and they're like, no, he's fine. And then he has that terrible debate, and then they all go into a frenzy. The U.S. should buy all of the beautiful Caribbean coastlines and turn them into resorts. They'd probably be bases. UK has a base in Cyprus. That's official territory with a resort. Yeah. It would be nice to go to, it'd be nice to go to the Bahamas without having to show your passport and go through customs and everything like that. That's more of a convenience type thing. But the United States could do that if they wanted to, I guess. 2020 was, well, 2020 and 2021 and kind of 2022 as well. How old are you? Let me guess, 27. I'm not 27, man. I'm a little bit younger. Is Mitt Romney considered MAGA? That's got to be a joke, man. No, Mitt Romney is establishment rhino. Establishment Mr. Rhino #1. Maybe Paul Ryan's #1. I don't know. Maybe McCain's #1. W. Bush. Do you think China should own U.S. farm? Absolutely not. Trump needs to talk about that. That needs to get rid. That's got to go immediately. We're buying back all of Chinese farmland. It's illegal for them to own any farmland. There needs to be a law passed tomorrow. That's not allowed. Do you think Trump will actually buy Greenland? I mean, I think he'll at least look into it, man, honest. If I'm being realistic. The problem is, with how things are now, you know, back if this was like 1925, I mean, you could really just bully Greenland or Denmark and say, you're going to accept this or there's going to be problems. And you could do that. You could technically still do that, but countries don't act like that nowadays, unfortunately. You know, so you kind of have to have Greenland play ball with the United States. Greenland would have to, I mean, you could offer a great deal and then Greenland might accept, but if Greenland says, no, we're not selling, you know, if it was the 1900s, you could say, you're going to sell us this, we're a lot more powerful than you, you need to sell us this right now, or there's going to be problems, and then Greenland, and then Denmark would do it, but we kind of need Denmark to be incentivized to sell, and I think they would be. I mean, if you give them a bunch of money, if you give them extra protection, if you give them a good trade deal, I mean, you can give them stuff. Do you think Paul Ryan voted for Harris? I would imagine they probably didn't vote at all, because those people don't like Democrats. I don't think they would. Would Brian Kemp easily beat John Ossoff in the Senate race? Well, that's very important if that happens, because Ossoff wants to run, apparently, for the presidency. If he loses all of his momentum. But Brian Kemp is loved in Georgia. I think Kemp would win, yeah. Kemp is loved in Georgia. Do you think Michelle Obama will run in 2028? I don't think so. I mean, but who knows? But I mean, people have been saying she's going to run this, you know, for multiple cycles. What if Biden runs in 2028? Runs to the old folks home, maybe. You buying the World War III hype, or is it just more fear-mongering? Fear-mongering. But dude, listen, you asked me a question like that. A very easy answer is to just say it's fear-mongering, because there's always going to be a 99% chance it's fear-mongering. But I mean, it is an escalation. I agree with people, it's an escalation. If Trump buys Greenland, should you go there? Should you move to Greenland? I don't think Greenland is developed enough. I mean, the U.S. could definitely develop some of the coastal cities in Greenland and make it nice, but it's not developed enough right now in Greenland. They would need a bunch of workers there, though, to mine and extract things. They would create a bunch of jobs. Bucks County is still counting votes. Yeah, I saw Scott Pressler do a speech or something about Bucks County, and he basically said that they were trying to steal it, and they were counting votes when the court order said that there were to be no votes counted, and they're still counting them. It's just such a mess. I would consider moving there. You're talking about moving to Greenland. I mean, you could move to a lot of places in the U.S. and not have to deal with worrying about locking your doors. You could move to a lot of countries in the Midwest, like the Dakotas, Montana, areas in more rural Nebraska. And pretty much any state if you're just in more of a rural area. What do you think of a Biden-Lichtman ticket? I don't know. The question is, do we get to see the 13 keys? If the 13 keys are allowed, then I think they'd win, yeah. I mean, you can't compete with that. Artificial global warming. Dude, how pissed off would they just create giant heating clouds? Imagine that would save us a lot of money on having to drill into that glacier. Artificial global warming, warming clouds, warming the clouds, 100 degrees. Whatever happened to Keith Olbermann? Trump had him deported to a mental facility in Quebec City, Canada. He's not going to be heard from for a while. Question is, who's going to Greenland enduring -10? Well, no, it depends. If on the coastline, it's not -10. The coastline, it's warmer, man. Greenland is cold. Yeah, inland is. I mean, it's a glacier. It's like -30. 3 a.m. in Croatia. Wow, man. Croatia, that's crazy. What's the temperature there? 53 degrees. No, I don't know. Do you think Arizona will stay red? I mean, it's hard to predict, but I think it's trending red. What do you think of the mainstream media firing people? I mean, they're seemingly losing losing, especially the liberal sites, losing a lot of viewers to independent media. So they've got to make some cuts, it looks like. Would Denmark trade Greenland to the United States for Logan, Jake Paul, and cash? It's every day. You remember that song? It's every day, bro. Yeah, I mean, I think Logan and Jake, they're cash cows. They can definitely make some noise out in Denmark. Call me racist, but I don't think America will elect an Indian as president. Vance 2028. Oh, you're talking about Vivek? Well, I think Vance is going to be over Vivek. Vivek is being blocked by Vance, yeah. But I think Ann Coulter said she wouldn't have voted for Vivek because he's Indian. That was kind of like a viral clip. Trade California for Greenland? No, we're not trading California. California, for as bad as it is, it's a GDP powerhouse. Doge to $1? Yeah, I think Doge will go to probably $2, man. This cycle in 2025. 1 degree Celsius. What is that, like 34 degrees, 35 degrees Fahrenheit? I'm not a fan of Celsius, man. Brother, Celsius is not good, and it's not because I'm American. If you want more accurate readings, you need to use Fahrenheit. I'm not even saying that because I'm American. When it comes to science, I understand using Celsius, with 0 being freezing. The first female president will be a Republican. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. Because they've ran 2 now and they've lost. I mean, I could see it, man. I think they'll definitely run liberals or run a white dude in 2028. But who knows? They might decide to run another Woman. Calvin is not better. Oh my god. Oh, stop, 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 stop. Calvin is not better than Fahrenheit, man. It's 33.8. That's what 1 degree Celsius is, 33.8. You see why it's a problem? It doesn't have an exact. It's not as detailed as Fahrenheit. That's the issue. What will Kamala do after January 20th? I guess possibly try and run for something in California, people are saying. Which election victory was better, 2016 or 2024? Probably 2016. I mean, no, that's just nostalgia, but no, it was 2016. I mean, it was a shocker, man. 2024 compared to 2016, 2024 was easy, bro. It was really 2024. There was not even a problem throughout the entire night. Trump just he was leading, leading, leading. He won. I mean, it was just like it was legitimately easy. Yeah, Elon cannot run, guys. I don't know if Matt Gaetz is gonna get in, man. It's gonna be hard. I wouldn't say his whole campaign was easy. Yeah, I mean the assassination attempts were more crazy for sure. The assassination attempts made 2024 harder. I mean, yeah, but just in the context of the actual like election, 2024 was always just like the polls were so much better. The election night was so much easier. Why is Biden trying to start World War III? Like the liberal establishment, but no, it's mainly Europe. I think it's probably behind a lot of these authorizations. I think it's mainly for leverage in a peace deal, but I mean it's a calculated risk. Thoughts on Scarborough meeting with Trump? Yeah, I just saw a video of Rosie O'Donnell who was just pissed off about it. But I mean, they're so rating starved. They have to try and get back on Trump's good side, or at least get some level of access to the White House, because Trump could just cut them off completely. So they're trying to be nicey nice to get access. Really, the southern coast is habitable. Yeah, in Greenland it is. You're right. Are you a natural ginger? Yeah, dudes don't dye their hair red. Come on. Greenland is mostly. Yeah, people were saying we should buy Iceland. That's not going to happen. Iceland is too close to Europe for that to happen. You still think Trump will be the GOP leader after 28 because he'll still campaign midterms if he campaigns in 2032? He'll wield large power wherever he do. Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, with this victory and how big it was, it's only going to increase his power over the Republican Party. Will you look for a blonde or a ginger to pass down the genes? Well, it's with my family. It, the way it works is really my kids would not be redheads, but then my grandkids probably would be. I believe that's how it works in my family. Zelensky is a liar, says he wants peace with Russia, but then says if Donald Trump stops funding Ukraine, they will lose the war. Yes, that will happen, and he knows it. Well, yeah, I mean, Zelensky is kind of, he needs NATO funding. I mean, that's the reality, or else they're done. So obviously, he's going to say if Trump stops funding, they're going to lose the war. But it doesn't matter. He has to. Zelensky has no leverage. He's just trying to convince Trump through like guilt that they need to keep being funded. Irish ancestry. I mean, I think my last name you can tell from the. I think it's Irish Scottish, I believe, mainly. But I would have to go take an ancestor, a DNA, a test or whatever the fuck it is. Will TikTok get banned if China attacks Taiwan? I don't know how TikTok would be impacted if that happened. That's interesting, man. Why is Nikki trending? She spoke out against Tulsi as a pic, said it was disgusting. Well. What's up, Ranger? What's up? What state am I from? I was born in Alaska. Stay away from 23andMe. Yeah, I heard some bad things about 23andMe. Antarctica. Yeah, I saw a YouTube video of them. There's a massive construction boom happening in Antarctica. We need to claim that land. Now, apparently, it's not possible for America to claim it. There's like a global agreement that nobody can claim land in Antarctica. Strongest Republican ticket? I mean, probably Vance Gabbard. Yeah, the Survivor 47 thing. I knew it was a TV show right when I saw it because I remember Survivor. If Elon goes to Mars, can the U.S. claim the planet? I mean, yeah, they could claim it if they landed on it. I'm not sure what the there's probably some law against it. There's probably some world law against it or something. Yeah, I mean, the United States is going to have the land if Elon lands there anyways. It doesn't really matter. How are they building stuff in Antarctica? Well, you can still, if nobody can claim the land, because you can still set up bases, research bases in Antarctica and stuff. Did you see Lichtman's latest meltdown with Jank? Mm-hmm. Probably there was a Nazi base in Antarctica. Well, the Nazis did explore Antarctica. I think maybe in the late 30s, early 40s. They were. I remember watching a YouTube video about it. They were running low on supplies, and they went to Antarctica. But there were many different countries that claimed Antarctica, and then it ended up just being nobody can claim it. Like they claimed areas in Antarctica. What's going on with Wisconsin's QB situation? I have no clue. Colonize Neptune. I love Neptune. Neptune's a beautiful looking planet. And build a cloud city. They were talking about building a cloud city in Venus or something. I think it was. Russia would be pissed if the U.S. bought Greenland. Yeah, well, so would China. You watched the election progress map in California was at 93% in counting from Friday until Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They just count so slowly. I mean, I stopped looking at that like a week ago, but it's. Bro, you're talking about Ducky? I think I saw that coin. I don't know, man. All right, guys, that is gonna do it for this stream. I'm not a Texas hater, man. Listen, if they haven't beaten anyone, you gotta admit they haven't beaten anyone. You want Tom Cotton to be the VP? I don't think it will happen. I mean, he'd probably get more publicity than people expect, but imagine if California was a swing state, it would take a month before we know who won. Well, if California was a swing state, they would do their elections differently. A lot of this is laziness because of California, and they know that they already know that they can call the election immediately once polls close. So then they've just got a very lazy system. If it was a swing state, they would have a lot better infrastructure when it comes to counting the votes faster. So I mean, it's a dual thing. The Emperor, thank you, man. I appreciate that. All right, good night, guys.